Empowered Women's Summit. And that's you, the empowered woman, who is here to find some solutions how to be even more empowered. And I'm here to share with you 3 reasons why women feel guilty about pursuing their own dreams and what you can do about it. So now I'm going to take myself off the screen because you don't really need to see me for this part of the presentation. I will join you later in person. And I'll be also looking at my notes because I want to make sure I stay on track. So if you hear rustling of paper, that means I'm turning pages. So I'll see you shortly in person. And for now, I have a question for you. Are you a professional juggler? Many women are juggling too many obligations. Work, children, parents, and usually a few other things too. So they struggle to keep all the balls in the air. And even when they drop a ball, they keep juggling because it's all up to them. And that's how they get run down and feel stretched too thin. Are you in that number? Hi, I'm Paula Oleska. I'm a best-selling author, brain reprogramming expert, mindset maverick, and procrastination wrangler. I helped over 5,000 individuals skyrocket their business and personal results. I have been speaking and teaching internationally for over 25 years. I speak 5 different languages, one of them being a language of success. Today, women hire me to unleash fearless action on their own behalf because most are drowning in obligations, expectations, and secret internal programming of fears and doubts. So I help them make bold, powerful decisions in their lives to liberate themselves from these excessive obligations, fears, and guilt, and finally claim who they really are and achieve their secret dreams. Bottom line, I'm a brain reprogramming expert, and I can reprogram your brain for your own maximum success. I am sure that you and most of our other women watching secretly want to do what you really want. I suspect that some of you are drowning in obligations, self-limiting beliefs, and fears. And I also suspect that many of you have given up on achieving your true goals because you don't want to let down all these people who have been relying on you all this time. So today, I'm going to show you how to stop juggling, regain your energy and power. I will let you in on the secrets about your brain and show you how you can harness its power to take fearless action on your own behalf. Eliminate the limiting beliefs and what's even more, the guilt forever. I'm going to share with you the exact strategies that have consistently gotten great results for my clients. And I will also give you an opportunity to be supported by me beyond today. Like I'm supporting this lovely woman in my office, and there are brain charts on the walls, and there is some wine on the table because we had a reception together with the demonstration where I was showing this woman how I can help her overcome not only fears and doubts, but also physical aches and pains, which are often a result of these problems on the emotional level. So here's what I know. Most people are still controlled by their past and their past conditioning, even when they are rich and famous. I remember when Ted Turner, the founder of CNN, held up his first Emmy and said, Is that good enough for you, Dad? And that especially holds true for women, because women from an early age have been conditioned to take care of others and put their needs ahead of their own. Most little girls have heard admonitions like, be nice, be a good girl, share your toys, take care of your little brother, and things like that. I'm sure you can recognize some of them. And of course, you can add some of your own. Receiving these messages for years created powerful conditioning that is still shaping some of your behaviors and decisions today. Do you agree? So how do I know that this conditioning persists for years? Because I've been there. So this is the paradox. On the surface, it looked like I lived my own life. I made my own decisions. I changed countries. I changed careers. I became a dancer at an age where many dancers retire. I became an opera singer after being told that I have no voice. And I became a brain expert without formally studying neuroscience. But it was a different story inside. You see, I had a very powerful critic inside of me, and perhaps you do too. So this critic always told me how wrong I was. I was wrong because I said a wrong thing to a wrong person at the wrong time. I was wrong because I was taking up people's time. And I was really bad because people around me were not happy. And it was my job to keep them happy. Can you relate? So I tried many things to get out of this conditioning. And I'm sure that you have tried some of them yourself. Positive thinking, affirmations, visualization, blessing people, forgiveness, putting them in the light. I did all of that. And as a result, I was evicted from my apartment. I lost all sense of boundaries. And the worst part was that I lost a sense of what I really wanted, because I denied that in favor of what I should be feeling and should be wanting. So I looked for other solutions because those solutions did not work for me, and I found them in the brain. So I managed to overcome much of this conditioning, and now I help women do the same. And I see the same symptoms, like my client Mary, who thought she was an easygoing person. But when we delved deeper into that, it turned out that her decisions were shaped by the fact that she was always criticized by her older sister when she was growing up. She was always made wrong. And therefore, she became a people pleaser. And she didn't really know what she wanted. And she just thought that she was easygoing because whenever people suggested something, she went along with it. But once we discovered what the problem was and did some brain reprogramming, she was able to change her behavior, go for what she really wanted, and get her dream job. Another of my clients, let's call her Sue, she was extremely devoted to her family, both immediate family and her extended family. So whenever someone wanted something, she dropped everything she was doing and she would jump and run to help them to do what they wanted. She even made financial decisions to support them, even though she was struggling financially herself. However, today, Sue is completely different. She says, I don't volunteer to help people. She's still a kind person, of course, because I know what you're thinking. Or you think like, oh, I don't want to be selfish. I'll come back to that a little bit later. So Sue is still a very kind person, very considerate person, but she no longer denies herself in favor of others. So when someone asks her for help, she says, I first check if they can do it themselves. And if they offer help, I hold them accountable for what they do. For instance, I told this person, I will come around and straighten out your apartment, but it's your job to keep it organized because I'm not going to come again. So today we are going to delve into the underbelly of conditioning and look at what was it that made it possible for Mary and Sue make changes, so you can also make changes like that. And we are going to look at the brain. Okay, here at the brain. So the thing about the brain is that you probably knew that you have your right and left brain, but you also have the other parts of the brain that you didn't know about. You have the emotional brain and you have a behavioral brain. So all this conditioning that we were talking about creates a very powerful imbalance in your brain. So these crucial brain structures store your emotions and behavior. And this is where your conditioning really lives. And it will persist for a lifetime unless you use the right tools to reprogram that. So scientists call these layers reptilian brain, limbic system, and neocortex. But I call them behavioral brain. I call it behavioral brain because it stores patterns of behavior and movement. I call this the emotional brain because this part of your brain is responsible for your emotions and relationships. And it also has a few other qualities that we are going to get into in a moment. So this is your thinking brain. And the reason why I call it the thinking brain, because thinking actually happens in this part of the brain, and more specifically in your left brain. That's where you have your conscious mind. So that's what people talk about when they talk about the mind. They don't know that they are talking about your left brain, but now you know. It's mostly your left brain. But they don't know that your thinking brain is really at the mercy of these other two brains. So I'll get back to that in a moment, but let me show you. Let's now get into those 3 reasons why women feel guilty about pursuing their own dreams. So, reason number 1, of course, is feeling run down. How can you pursue your dreams when you feel run down? Many women think, how can I take care of myself? I just don't have the time. My family relies on me. If I add one more thing to my to-do list, I'll drop dead. I can't go to the gym, I can't rest, and I often can't get enough sleep because there are so many things I have to take care of. And of course, I hear that from my clients when they begin to work with me all the time. Of course, they stop later. So here's your emotional brain. What happens to your emotional brain? Let's first of all look at what it does. So your emotional brain is like a 3-year-old. It's full of energy, it's full of curiosity, it likes exploring, and it also governs your relationships with others. Little girls are encouraged to emphasize their emotional brain from an early age. But are they encouraged to explore, take risks, and be bold? Unfortunately, not. They are mostly encouraged to cultivate the relationship part of the emotional brain. They are not encouraged to say no, to stick to what they want, or even to talk back to grown-ups. That would strengthen their behavioral brain. But being nice rules. Pretty soon, the energy of the emotional brain goes out the window. So that's why you feel drained and run down. My client Liz felt tired most of the time. She got easily overwhelmed. I couldn't do too many things in one day. And she even often had to take a nap during the day. Well, I'm not against naps, but you shouldn't get naps because you're so exhausted. So after we did some brain reprogramming, and she was able to let go of some of her past conditioning that was weakening her system, she was able to be much more energetic and handle many more tasks, and finally work on expanding her business. So let's look at reason 2. And the reason 2 is that many women don't know what their needs really are. Like my client Mary that I told you about earlier. Knowing what your needs are really is a function of your behavioral brain. So here's the behavioral brain. Your behavioral brain is like a 1-year-old. It makes sure that your needs are met, and that's what makes you safe. But if you ask many women, what do you want? They often will say, well, I don't know. What do you want? Have you been in a situation where you are with a group of other women or just other people, and you're discussing where to go to a restaurant, and someone asks you, where would you want to go? And you say, it's okay, wherever you want. Why do women do that? Because a lifetime of being told to be nice and agreeable creates a habit of denying what women really want for themselves. So therefore, they often can't even identify what they want, like Mary, who I told you about earlier. That's because the emotional brain overpowers the behavioral brain. So now the concept of I, mine, my needs and my wants becomes a no-no. And that creates conditioning that makes women sacrifice themselves in favor of others. For instance, a few of my women clients were still supporting the grown children when they started to work with me, even though they were struggling themselves. And what's even worse, some of the women don't even recognize inappropriate or abusive behavior when people are too demanding, overbearing, or manipulative. I was astonished when my client Maggie described 2 of such individuals, and she thought they were her friends. But the truth be told, I must tell you that I used to have that problem myself. I can think of at least one situation when I still considered a particular woman my friend, even after she betrayed me a few times because I did not recognize the betrayal. I was so loyal and I so believed in the fact that she cared about me with because of some earlier interactions that I was completely overlooking what she was actually doing. So I had to develop some tools to get myself out of those denials. And now I managed to cure my blind spots and I help women do the same. So before we get into your thinking brain, let me show you a little bit more about the behavioral and your emotional brain. So here's your emotional brain. Why do we like pets, kids, and toys? Because they are soft, cuddly, and you want to cuddle and say like, oh, that's so sweet. But we also have the reptilian brain. So the reptilian brain, like a reptile, my beautiful lizard, is about I want what I want. So the reptilian brain doesn't have the same kind of emotions. It only governs survival and certain aspects of fear and anger. So they often fight it out. The behavioral brain says, I want this. And the limbic system says, I can't do that. It's going to hurt someone. And the behavioral brain says, you should not be so concerned about that because you are now in danger of neglecting yourself. And the limbic system or your emotional brain says, but I care so much about those other people. It's okay. I will take care of them. I'll manage somehow myself. So they fight it out. And guess who wins? If you're a woman drowning in obligations, of course, your limbic brain wins. And then you're left not knowing what your needs are and what you really want. So you have to reprogram your brain to restore the balance so they can work together. They can. Because the function of the behavioral brain, when it's really balanced, it gives you good boundaries. So your emotional brain still is going to care about others, but your behavioral brain is going to say, that's going overboard. You need some more rest. So you can tell these people that you will help them later. Or just like Sue, you will say, can they do it themselves? Maybe I'll tell them that. Okay? So once you reprogram your brain, these parts of your brain will collaborate and you will be still a warm, caring, compassionate person, but you'll have better boundaries and you'll be able to say no. Okay, so that was a little bit of a brain lecture. Now let's talk about your thinking brain. So this is the third reason why women don't feel guilty about pursuing their own dreams, because the thinking brain has been hijacked by your emotional brain. What does that mean? So, as I told you earlier, contrary to what you have been told by many other experts, your thinking brain really is at the mercy of behavioral and emotional brain. Because your brain really is organized from the bottom up and not from the top down. Like the mind experts tell you that you can use your mind to control everything. So use your mind to talk yourself out of your emotions. Use your mind to talk yourself out of your behavior. And if that doesn't work, then what do you hear? You are not doing it right. So as I was saying, most experts, or I would say all the experts, tell you that you can use your mind to control your emotions and behavior. But if you really look at your experience, you will understand that that only works sometimes. So, and because when the behavioral brain kicks in, the function of the behavioral brain primarily is to keep you safe. And if that brain decides on its own, without consulting your conscious mind, that something is not safe, it's going to shut down or reprogram your thinking. Okay? So your thinking brain really is at the mercy of the emotional and behavioral brain. So what happens after all this conditioning, being nice and always taking care of others, your thinking brain now always thinks about others instead of thinking about you. And then you think about your parents and your children and your friends and everybody else who is pulling on your energy. And you are therefore drowning in expectations. And this is all because of your conditioning that has now reshaped your brain. And you will feel guilty to do what you really want and to pursue your own interests because you think you don't have time. And of course, I hear that from my clients all the time. One of my clients most of my clients are very devoted to work, in addition to being very devoted to relationships. So finding the time to do something like exercise or go on a diet was absolutely impossible until we reprogrammed the brain. And then this woman was able to find time to go to the gym, take care of herself, and she discovered that she actually likes it. So this is what happens when you start changing that conditioning that lives in your brain. But initially, when anything along those lines comes up from my clients, they say, oh, but that will be so selfish. That will be unloving. And some of them even say, I will be punished. Or they don't know what it actually means to take care of themselves. Like my client Sally, in one of the sessions, something came up about taking care of herself. So I said, what would that mean for you? And she said, I don't know, maybe taking a long bath. That sounds good enough. I'm absolutely in favor of long baths. But after we did some reprogramming, she discovered that in order to really take care of herself, she needed to stop talking to her toxic family. She needed to take charge of her finances and also change jobs. So by now you see that my clients like Sally, Mary, or Sue were able to completely change their conditioning with the brain reprogramming system that I use. They got themselves out of the web of obligations and regained their energy and started to pursue their own dreams and goals. And I would love the same for you. And that's why I have carved out several spots for a free exploration session to live your dream guilt-free. And in this session, we are going to explore the conditioning that has been holding you back. We can explore what your secret dreams really are. And if they are really secret, then we'll just explore what the ones that you have that are not so secret. And then when we do some work, you'll get to the secret ones as well. And we are going to explore how I can help you get to live your dreams. And if you'd like to schedule a session, here's a link on the screen where you can reserve your spot. The number of these free exploration sessions to live your dreams guilt-free is limited, and it's of course first come, first served. So I encourage you to do it now. In the next video, we will take a deep dive into what brain reprogramming really is, and I will take you through a process where you will be able to experience how to reprogram a part of your conditioning yourself right there in that next video. So if you feel like having a session, click on the link. I look forward to seeing you in the exploration session, and also I'll see you in the next video.